Hello everyone and welcome to Akuna Art Channel. This is Evan Akuna and I am going to be your artist today. I'd just like to point out that this video is a get to know me video right off the bat. I've done a few of these recordings now. This is probably my fourth or fifth or sixth, but I'm going to try really hard not to say So as an incentive, if you subscribe to my channel and if you leave a comment that is accurate, the first person to accurately count how many times I say in this video, I owe you a free drawing. And you need to let me know. Okay? So let's get started. So today, I'm going to kind of talk about this girl that I was drawing this morning. It is sped up to about 400%. So an hour and 20-minute drawing is actually about 20 minutes of sped up drawing. So I'm going to try to teach and preach. No, I'm not going to preach. But I'm going to talk about my process. And what I want to really focus on is my struggle as an artist. I want you to feel like you're in it with me, figuring it out. Not me telling you what's the right to do, but that I get into your world. If you're watching right now and you're someone who wants to go somewhere with your art, well, let's go together. Okay? So my goal here in this drawing was to take something that I learned from a video that I watched on achieving a more painterly look in your color, particularly in your shading and light source. And so what we kind of missed in me introducing myself is laying out a base drawing. This is kind of a default girl for me, you know, the look that I keep coming up with. So it's my style. The goal here, though, is to take my outliney kind of ink and paint style and attempt to view color, tone, color shapes, these type of concepts that really have eluded me because of a kind of a penciler first mentality toward art. As you can see, I still use a kind of a pencil first approach. But the idea here is that this basic drawing that is outlining my light source, as you can see on the far left of the figure, the face is lit up with a highlight of pink. And you can probably, it's pretty obvious, but this girl looks like she's made of bubble gum because of the pink that I chose as a base color. Well, this was my other challenge, is that I'm trying to achieve shadow and light using color rather than just going in with a half opacity black or gray. And this approach is supposed to help me achieve a softer, more painterly effect. So come jump in the water with me, see what I do, see where I get it right, see where I get it wrong, see where I'm a total hypocrite. The idea is to just be with me as I make my attempts at my goal. By the way, that was one right there, so don't miss it. You might want to rewind that. So what I'm getting at here is I'm adding all these highlights that are later going to be colored over. Okay, I'm going to add more hair. I'm going to change, as you can see, I'm already doing it. I'm lightening the irises because I have this obsession with getting the eyes right, otherwise I don't want to do it anymore. One of the fun things about watching me draw, maybe it's not fun for you, but it's fun for me, is seeing how much I jump around. This is why digital is so important for me, because there are so many scatterbrained thoughts that I have as an artist that I would be a wreck if I had to do a watercolor painting where you have to plan everything out and make sure you don't color certain parts, leave parts white for highlights. I'd be an absolute mess. But here in the digital world, accepting that this tool is a completely legitimate and viable tool in creating art, I have been able to do things that growing up were such crippling things, one of which is even adding color to my artwork. People would say all the time, you don't finish your artwork. And it was true. I was constantly after the next idea, and I was constantly terrified of putting any sort of finality to my work and sealing its fate, so to speak, in the event that I did it wrong. So right off the bat, what this video is actually designed to do, let me derail completely for a minute, and this drawing is just going to keep going. But let me just tell you some things about myself. So when I was a kid, and by kid I mean teenager, I was about 14 years old when I decided that I was going to be a comic book artist. What that meant for me was, whether I meant to or not, was ditching my college preparatory education and pouring all of my effort into buying, reading, and studying and emulating comic books. And so my childhood and adolescence was filled with this kind of zealot crusade to become the next guy. And that doesn't mean much to a lot of other people, but being basically the next Jim Lee or the next, I don't know, you name the comic book artist, I don't know, Todd McFarlane, I don't know. But the idea was that I would use these comic books as absolute research. I would look at the aesthetic, I would look at the styles that worked, I would look at the styles that didn't, and I would craft my own style through this kind of constellation of different styles. Well, 20 years later, I see that on Instagram, they figured it out. The formula has been around. In fact, it's been around for forever. I mean, when you're dealing with aesthetics and what the human eye appreciates and what we culturally appreciate, I mean, you know, but we figured it out as a culture. So here I am on the tail end of a lot of development in the realm of digital art, and I'm using actually some pretty old tech. I have a Fujitsu Lifebook. This is a T900. It's got to be 10 years old, maybe a little less. But as a teacher, I wanted to have a way, that's another I wanted to get enough computers so that I could teach a classroom full of kids to do what I do. And I think that's been the big change these last 20 years now since art school, is that I want to pass this stuff along. I get more joy out of watching my kids get it and be happy with where they are artistically, I think, than I do with my own art. And I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. It's such a cool thing. I am now obsessed with helping other people, young, old, doesn't matter, to grasp the idea that we are all inherently creative. Now, that doesn't mean that, drawing is going to come naturally for you. It doesn't mean that at all. But what it means is that it's worth checking out. Maybe this is something that you could find very enjoyable. What I found is that many people have a crippling sense of dissatisfaction with where they are artistically. And it's usually rooted in this very deep-seated perfectionism. One that I can totally relate to because I am a perfectionist. You can't tell, well, you can, by how many times I redo the lips on this girl. But perfectionism is something that I've had to rein in at least in my journey as an artist. And one of the things that I've found needs to happen in order for you to stay in it, so to speak, is that you've got to allow yourself to be like a child. And it's amazing how universal that concept is. To approach life with a childlike perspective. Now, I want to make this really clear. I have, in my classes, when I teach younger kids, I talk about these two characters in your mind. One is the kid, and I draw a little picture of a little baby. And the other is Mr. Perfect, and I draw this, like, the typical, like, beret, goatee, cooler than you glasses, and it's this figure that's just basically full of speculation over your artwork. The truth of the matter is, it's great to have both. I like being perfectionistic, but I also like being able to just draw whatever comes to mind, come what may. If it's messy, whatever. And so what I try to do and what I try to teach, and we will get to this in basically every lesson from here on out, is that when you allow yourself to be gesturally, to be loose, to be experimental, to be whimsical, then out of that comes some of the most powerful line work, some of the most powerful shapes, some of the most meaningful strokes that then are built upon with the scrutiny you then come in with as a perfectionist. So the idea is, if I can make it simply, is that there are three things that I do in this particular order, and I do jump around. But number one, I always look for, when I'm drawing, so I always try to discover the big shapes. This includes realistic drawing, drawing from observation, or drawing from imagination. The big shapes. What are the big blobs? What are the elephants in the room? What are the shapes that you can't go without in their most primitive form? And then, of course, the second step is I look for the big lines. What are the gesturally lines that say what you want the drawing to say in terms of proportion, in terms of relationship between the shapes and the lines? I'll get more into that in future lessons. And finally, the third thing, which we sometimes confuse with the first step, is the details. The details are the last of your concerns. I say that, and while you look over at my drawing, you'll see that I'm constantly tweaking details. And that is the joy of digital art. You can basically draw under, over, undo. Can't go wrong. And this is why I get more done on a computer than I ever did on paper. That is not a shameless plug for digital, nor is it an endorsement for digital only. I'm just saying, for me, man, it has really helped me turn a corner. Okay, so that being said, I want to just point out some things about drawing digitally that I want you to consider as you consider subscribing to and following my channel. It is that when you learn to use digital medium, it opens up this whole world of possibility for career. And one of the things that I really enjoy, particularly when I'm drawing a book, so I've illustrated a few children's books, and you can check them out. They're in the dark corner of the internet. But I enjoy the fact that I can go to a client and say, here, this is, let's say it's a dog about a puppy. Here's your puppy. Oh, and by the way, you can see I'm still experimenting with lips on this drawing. Okay, so I go to a client and I say, here's a puppy. And they're like, oh, I know we're 3 months in, but maybe the puppy should have brown spots. And normally, that would be a freak out proposition, right, for a traditional artist. But for a digital artist, you could be like, spots, no problem. I'll have those spots on there by today. And then boom. And then you can present that, and then maybe the author says something like, well, it'd be great if we could use this type of font or whatever, and it's all manipulatable. And so one of my goals in teaching, particularly from this platform, is we're going to be exploring this particular app called Autodesk Sketchbook Pro. It is a free app. You can get it online, and then also it's a very intuitive app, and so it feels to me the most like drawing on paper. There are people that use Photoshop, of course, and Photoshop is wonderful. It is unsurpassed. There's other programs like Krita, Metabang, Procreate on the iPad, a lot of different ones. I'm going to try to stick to principles that you could basically transfer largely over in any platform, sticking to theory and technique so that you're not left out. But I want to encourage you to jump on here. My goal, of course, in this very young channel is I am looking to gain 1,000 subscribers. What that will allow me to do is to open up the join button feature. And what that will also allow me to do is charge a small fee for exclusive content. Some of that goes to YouTube, some to me. And maybe I can open this up to where now you don't have to take a class online. Oh, excuse me. You don't have to take a class live to get some teaching. I'm more enthused about teaching than I am about taking your money, to be honest. But at the same time, I think we can both win, because if this opens up to the world, well, then maybe I don't have to be a starving artist, and maybe more people can learn, and I can get something to feed my family with. So I want you to consider sharing this video like crazy, because it would help all of us. I know that we're heading into some weird times, and far be it from me to keep my classes at a place where they might put you at a disadvantage, or maybe put you in a bind choosing between eating and learning. Don't want to do that. So this is a down the road goal. We have about 137 subscribers at the publishing of this video. My hope and prayer is to get to 1,000 so that we can turn this into something, and hopefully in time for the upcoming school year. School could be totally different this year, so I want to be sensitive to that. All that being said, here is the girl. We got a backdrop now. I'm doing final tweaks. There are going to be some over tweaks where the final image will not reflect those. But I just want to thank you for watching this video and really for hearing my heart. Please consider liking, subscribing, sharing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.